We could call it love. Bonjour la classe. It's time for another episode of ElliXia's Kylie Retrospectives, a series in which we delve into the discography of the legendary Miss Kylie Minogue in the lead up to her new album Disco, which comes out on the 6th of November at the time of recording. I am ElliXia Q Valentine, Malvern's answer to Rachel Stevens. This week we're getting a little bit steamy as we discuss Kylie's 12th studio album, Kiss Me Once, or as some fans call it, Play Me Once. Kiss Me Once was released in the UK on the 17th of March 2014. It reached number 2 in the albums chart and it spawned just 2 singles, Into the Blue and I Was Gonna Cancel. Kiss Me Once is something of a divisive album among the fan base. I think some fans really don't like it and then some fans think it's very underrated. And I like the first lyric in Dua Lipa's song Pretty Please. I'm somewhere in the middle. Thank you very much. Today's look is inspired, as always, by the album's general vibe. There's a lot of red, a lot of lipstick. Basically, I feel like a tart. But these sunglasses are actually tour merchandise from the Kiss Me Once tour. And I'm also wearing Kylie's own lipstick, the Kiss Me Once lipstick. That's right, there's more than one Kylie who does makeup. My true fans will recognise that from the Fever video. All 16 of you. Kiss Me Once, despite reaching number 2 in the albums chart, kind of came and went very quickly. The album was certified silver, which isn't that strong a showing for someone of Kylie Minogue's status. Only 2 proper singles were released from the album, neither of which particularly did well on the charts. Nothing from this album was included on the Golden Tour, which came a few years later. And then also nothing from this album was included on the original release of Step Back in Time, the greatest hits album in 2019. And to me, Kiss Me Once, as a whole, is quite similar to X. You know, I said about X that it's an album which has some of Kylie's best material on it, and also some of her weakest. And Kiss Me Once is an album that feels very similar in that respect. But anyway, let's talk about the actual music itself. Starting off with the lead single, Into the Blue. Into the Blue is actually one of my favourite Kylie songs. I really love it. So, bit of personal backstory as well. When this album was released, I was in my last year at university. So this album was released in March of 2014, and I graduated in July. Into the Blue was premiered in January of 2014, and it's actually one of those songs that could not have come at a better time in my life. I'd recently gone through a breakup, and of course I was nearing the end of my time at uni, a time which I very much enjoyed, a time that I was very sad that was coming to an end. And Into the Blue talks about Kylie finding her way on her own, finding independence, finding her path and taking a chance, going into the blue. You know, she doesn't know what's out there, but she's gonna find it and she's gonna be okay. She'll be okay on her own. And having just gone through a breakup earlier that month, it was resonating with me a lot. I had this newly discovered independence and this newly discovered belief that I am fine as a single person. I don't need a partner to validate me. And it also gave me some hope looking forward to what's to come after university. Post-uni, you know, I was going back to my small hometown where there were no opportunities, so I was very scared. But a song like Into the Blue definitely helped with that. It definitely helped with that reassurance of, I'm going to be fine. Eventually I'm going to find my way. And then we have single 2 of 2, I Was Gonna Cancel. Or as I sometimes call it, I probably should have cancelled. I Was Gonna Cancel's major selling point, I think, was the fact that it was written and produced by Pharrell Williams. And Pharrell Williams, of course, in 2014 was the man of the moment. At this point in 2014, I don't think I'd gone a single day without hearing Happy in some way, shape or form. You have Pharrell in your song, it's pretty much a guaranteed hit. At least that's what you think. So I Was Gonna Cancel was inspired by Kylie showing up to the studio and really just not feeling it. And hey, we've all had those days, haven't we? We've all had those days when we come into work and we're just really like, this just isn't the day. And apparently she like just broke down and burst into tears and just really wasn't feeling it. And didn't want to continue the session, and that's basically what I Was Gonna Cancel was born from. It's got that ideology of face the day because who knows, it could be amazing. Which is a good mantra because, to be fair, if I listened to myself every time I thought, oh, I can't be arsed, oh, I don't feel like doing this, I'd never do anything. The problem with I Was Gonna Cancel though for me is it does just seem a bit hollow. I have 2 issues with I Was Gonna Cancel though. Actually 3. One's not with the song itself. Issue number 1 is the lyrics are somewhat lazy. There's the go, go, go hook that comes after the chorus, and I just can't help but think it just feels a bit, you know, you can do better. Pharrell can do much better than that, and he has. And then the middle 8 also just feels a bit lazily written as well. Issue number 2 is that the delivery of the song doesn't feel very inspirational. One of my biggest pet peeves in pop music is when songs are meant to be inspirational and motivational, but there's no conviction, and therefore it comes across as just hollow and forced. I love me a good self-help lyric, absolutely, but the person singing it has to believe it. And in this case, Kylie doesn't really sound like she believes it that much. It feels just a bit phoned in. And then the third thing that I have an issue with is the music video, which isn't a reflection of the song itself. It's just really not very good. I'm very sorry, Kylie. But I feel that Kylie probably doesn't like the song that much either. It wasn't even done on the Kiss Me Once tour. And the single itself didn't reach the top 40, it reached something like 59, I think. It didn't do very well. And I think I Was Gonna Cancel was released because the album wasn't doing amazingly, and I think they thought, oh, here's Pharrell. This is guaranteed smash. And it didn't really work that way. And subsequently, no future singles were released from this album. A few tracks were sort of in contention to be singles and were released to radio as singles in certain countries, but no music videos, no proper promos, and nothing really came of it. And with that brief moment of single recapping out of the way, we move on to the album tracks. So first we have Million Miles, which is an okay track. The chorus is just, I feel like I'm a million miles away. It's just a bit repetitive, which is a shame because I like the verses. And there's a part of the chorus I do like the when you touch my body, I feel weak. That's a good part. It just feels like the song could be much better. It's a C grade song, but with a better chorus, it could easily be up to a B, maybe even an A. One of the lyrics is, oh boy, you're never too much. And I'm guessing she was talking to her record label when it came to promoting it. Moving swiftly on, we have the next track, Sexy Love, which I have to be honest is my least favourite track on this album. I don't think it's a bad song, and actually I will say that I don't think any of the songs on this album are bad. You know, like X, the album's weaker moments aren't bad songs, they would probably just be better suited for somebody else. Or not even that, but maybe just what was in the wings that didn't make the cut is probably better. There's room for improvement, let's just say that. The Sexy Love feels very of its time, I think. It feels very similar to Jessie J's Domino, only not as good. It basically feels like if Jessie J wrote a song for Kylie, that's probably what it would sound like. It's okay, it's enjoyable, it's, you know, it's quite feel good, but I just think there's better, you know what I mean? Then we have Sexercise, which was a semi-single, I guess we could put it. In the week of the album's release, Sexercise received an online promotional campaign that featured 5 different videos, 2 of which being like actual music videos and the other 3 sort of being more visuals. Which is funny because that's like more promo than any of the actual singles got from this record. And the official Sexercise video as well is very, very steamy. It's Kylie being very sexual with some dancers and an exercise ball. You gotta give props to Kylie, she looks great in that video as well, you know. Sexercise is also a song that's kind of its time. It's got a dubstep quality to it. It's a bit corny at points, you know. There's obviously a lot of metaphors for exercise and sex. I like Sexercise. I enjoyed it a lot when it was new as well. I had some very good workouts to it in the gym when it was a new song. And then literal workouts, can I just add, I'm not using any euphemisms there. Genuinely, I'd exercise and I'd have that song on and I'd be like, yeah, I'm really pumped. It's not that kind of show. Then we have the next track, which is Feel So Good. Now this is where the album starts to really pick up. Feel So Good was actually released originally in October of 2013 under the name Indiana by the singer Tom Aspel, who was also quite a prolific songwriter and producer as well. Kylie's version of the song retitled to be called Feel So Good isn't that different from his version actually, it's just basically in a different key. But it's a really, really good song. It's subtle, it's quite minimal, it's quite sexy as well. Very much, I think, takes a less is more kind of approach. It manages to leave you satisfied without having to go grandiose with it. It's the perfect song to listen to on a summer's evening, I think, when it's still quite hot outside. And you know those kind of summer nights when it doesn't ever get like fully dark. Or it does, but like until really, really late. It's a perfect song for that kind of thing. And I will also say as well, actually, Tom Aspel is a fantastic singer, writer and producer. If you like Kylie, I would definitely recommend checking out his album, Black Country Disco, which is available on all good digital retailers now. Seriously, check it out. It's really, really good. Then we have the song If Only, which is another highlight. If Only is quite soaring, I would say. It very much gives sort of like standing on a cliff edge with the wind kind of vibes. The lyrics are quite sort of philosophical at points as well. It's quite frantic, it's a bit dramatic, but it manages to do so in a very dignified way. If Only definitely is one of this album's stronger moments for sure. Then up next we have Le Sex, which in my eyes should have been the second single. Completing our trilogy of songs with sex in the title, Le Sex is absolutely streets ahead of the other two. It is by far the strongest in the bunch. It's a bit quirky, it's quite camp, it's electronic, it feels sexy, it feels like you could just imagine a music video with Kylie and loads of dancers being very sexy but wearing ridiculous outfits and really taking it to the nth degree. It was the opener on the tour as well, where she emerges from the ground on this massive pair of lips, just casually lying about singing a song like she doesn't give a beep. She actually previewed Le Sex at a small gig in January 2014. It was like the second song that we'd heard from this album in any capacity. And I was really excited for it. I was like, oh my god, this sounds like it's gonna be really good. I was like, this has second single written all over it. If they don't release it as a second single, I don't know what to believe. And it's 6 years later and I still don't know what to believe because it never became a single. Sad times. Then we have the album's title track, Kiss Me Once, which for me is this album's highlight. It is a solid gold, gorgeous, mid-tempo ballad that is just lovely. It's got bells, it's got gorgeous lyrics, it's very, very sweet. It very much gives me wedding vibes. Like, I think it would make for a really good first dance. Like, the song Kiss Me Once, when I first heard it, I was hooked on it instantly, and it feels like such a gorgeous song that you're just bathing in because it's so nice. It feels like if you could make a bubble bath into a song, it would be Kiss Me Once. If that makes any sense. It does to me. And again, it would have been a perfect choice for a single. It would have made a wonderful Christmas single, actually. It does give me some wintry vibes. Or a Christmas remix with even more bells thrown on it as well. Why not? Then we have the album's penultimate track on the standard edition, Beautiful, which is a duet with Enrique Iglesias. Now, Beautiful is not a fan favourite, to put it politely. Even when I first heard it, I was a bit like, because this song was premiered on the radio about a month before the album came out, and I was a bit like, it's alright. It's not amazing, but it's alright. It's obviously a duet with the two singers. There is a lot of vocoder and autotune on the chorus, and I don't really know why, because it doesn't add to the song. If anything, it actually makes the song worse. And no shade to Mr. Iglesias, but I have to be honest, the song works so much better just with Kylie. She did it on the tour by herself, and she did a couple of other performances on her own as well. And there's also a solo studio version online as well, and it's just much better. There's less of the vocoder on the chorus as well. It's frustrating because within Beautiful, there is a really good song, a really good understated ballad that could be one of Kylie's strongest ballads, but the album version with Enrique and all that autotune just doesn't work for me, and I think for a lot of other fans as well. And it also goes to show, I think, how some songs can be dramatically improved or made worse with not a huge change. Anyway, then we have the album's closing track on the standard edition, which is called Fine. Fine is fine. Really. That's kind of all it is, I think. I think it's decent, you know. Again, it kind of has the self-help platitude that I Was Gonna Cancel had, and it still isn't done with a great deal of conviction. Yeah, it just leaves me feeling a little bit empty, unfortunately. Then we move on to the album's bonus tracks. Mr. President, which, if you're listening to Mr. President anytime post-2016, is all kinds of wrong. But it's definitely worth noting that when this album was released, Barack Obama was still the President of the United States. Mr. President obviously has that Marilyn Monroe, oh, Mr. President kind of vibe. It is like that, but like amps up ridiculously into an EDM track. It's a fun track as well. It's definitely at home as just a bonus track and not a main body of the album track. It's enjoyable and it's camp. It's just unfortunate that it's very hard to listen to that song now without thinking of a certain person who shares his name with a famous cartoon duck. And before I get any more horrible images in my head, let's just move straight on to the next track. The closing track on the deluxe edition of the album is called Sleeping with the Enemy. That's actually a really lovely mid-tempo, very somber number actually. Kylie singing about a guy who she thought was really good, but he's actually been cheating on her, and she's found out by him saying someone else's name in her sleep as well, and it's a bit like, ooh, okay. It's actually really nice and understated, and it's definitely one of the stronger tracks as well. We also have Japanese bonus track Sparks, which was also a B-side to the physical edition of Into the Blue, so it was released in a very limited capacity. Sparks is really good. There's an ever so slightly tribal element to it. It's got electric in it as well. It's really, really strong. Definitely, in my eyes, would have absolutely taken a place on this album over some of the other tracks. It feels a bit like it would suit a Crash Bandicoot level in the best way. And again, it has some sort of self-help lyrics, and this time I actually believe them, you know. It's a very, very strong song, and it's a real shame that it's not on any digital platforms. And then we enter into the realm of extra tracks that were from the Kiss Me Once sessions that didn't make the cut, but were still released in some capacity. Up first we have Golden Boy, which was a song released exclusively for Record Store Day on a 7-inch vinyl. Golden Boy is a gorgeous track. It's very much in the vein of like classic Kylie, sort of I Believe in You, All the Lovers style. Golden Boy for me is a song that really reminds me of my last term at uni as well. I listened to it loads, and I can't listen to it without sort of being taken back to that time. I subsequently don't listen to it all that much because I'm like, oh, it just reminds me of uni so much. But when I do listen to it and I close my eyes, for that brief period, I'm back there. It is a lovely, lovely song. And again, probably a song that would have quite easily taken a better place as something else that was on the album. Then we have Crystallize, which was a single released for charity in June of 2014. It was a song in aid of a cancer charity, which of course means a lot to Kylie given her experience as well. Crystallize is lovely. Again, very much in that vein of I Believe in You. It was even written with Jake Shears as well, so it's a perfect Kylie song in that vein. But Crystallize is lovely, and it even managed to chart actually as well. I think it reached like 60 or something like that. And again, Crystallize also really reminds me of uni as well, because it came out in the last week of term, so like that really reminds me of uni a lot. And then lastly, we have what is known as the Sleepwalker EP. Now, Sleepwalker was a short film that was shown at the beginning of the Kiss Me Once tour, before the concert actually started. These songs were the soundtrack to that short film. It's a very artsy film with a lot of references to Sleeping Beauty. It's very sort of angsty as well actually, which is unusual for a Kylie release. And the songs accompanying this short film are really, really strong. Firstly, you've got Glow, which is very electronic, quite experimental as well. Again, very angsty as well, being tormented by like the ghost of a former lover. It's very, very good. Definitely should have been on the main body of the album. The second track on this EP, which is called Wait, which is a lovely, lovely tranquil ballad. It's quite philosophical. There's, you know, existential lyrics as well. It's very, very calming You know, I can imagine listening to it under a night sky with loads of stars and it being really nice. Then there's Break This Heartbreak, which is a bit more frantic. It's kind of in a similar vein to what Glow was, but it's much more dance-based. It very much also gives sort of a feeling of angst and inner turmoil. And also, it was actually sampled by will.i.am on his song Boys and Girls 2 years later. A little tiny vocal sample was used. And I remember hearing that and being like, I know that, what's that from? And then the last track is Chasing Ghosts, which is a bit of a sort of reggae-ish inspired number, I guess. It's not really my favourite, but I applaud it for being experimental because it's very much not what you'd expect from a Kylie release at all. The Sleepwalker EP, as well as the video for it, the visual for it, really points to an album that was a lot more experimental in its early stages, and somewhere along the way they all got sort of thrown to the side in favour of an album that was meant to be very chart friendly. That actually concludes the 20 tracks from the Kiss Me Once sessions, and majority of the extra tracks are significantly better than what made the cut. And you know, like I said, there's a really strong mid-section in this album with from the tracks Feels So Good to Kiss Me Once. There's some really good songs. There are a couple of songs that could be improved with some tweaks. And then of course there's Into the Blue as well, which is a really good song. The Sleepwalker EP is really good as well. Really experimental. It's just a shame that I think Kylie wasn't afforded the opportunity to be more experimental. And I don't like to be negative about it either, because I do have some really happy memories associated with this album as well. And I can't deny, when it came out, I absolutely loved it. I listened to it all the time. I think it's just sort of over time, that new album sheen definitely did wear off after a point. I think you can see the difference in Kylie herself as well. If you watch an interview from the Kiss Me Once era and then watch an interview from the Golden era 4 years later, in the Golden era she was so much more engaged and seemed like she was genuinely really enjoying it. Kiss Me Once has a bit of a feeling of like it's business as usual, but business as usual maybe wasn't working anymore and maybe it needed a bit of an upgrade. I did think this actually about a year or so after Kiss Me Once. I sort of thought to myself, I reckon in future tours and you know as Kylie progresses further, Kiss Me Once will probably be that album that gets left off. It joins the ranks of Let's Get To It and Impossible Princess as those Kylie albums that just barely ever get referenced at all. Kiss Me Once wasn't a bad album. There was just room for improvement. And so that sums up a potentially controversial episode of Kylie Retrospectives. Just remember that everything that I say is my opinion. It's not fact. If you love Kiss Me Once, that's great for you. You're not wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm a Kylie fan at the end of the day. I love anything she does. But being such a devoted Kylie fan, I will analyse and look at the material that she releases with quite a detailed, scrutinising eye. So, and Kiss Me Once has its flaws, but it also does have many strengths, and it's important to focus on those great moments that the album has. And I've been ElliXia Valentine. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, etc. You know the drill. And don't forget to tune in next week when we start our Christmas shopping early with 2015's Kylie Christmas. I know, a Christmas album in October, but if it's alright for Dolly Parton, it's alright for me as well. Thank you once again very much for joining me. Hope you all stay safe and that you're taking care of yourselves and, all that good stuff. I've been ElliXia Valentine, and as always, please book me. Mwah.